Hey guys, my name is Stan Proko. In this episode of Proko, I'll show you how to draw the ears. After the initial linear lay-in, I'm going to introduce a concept called shadow mapping. Basically, during shadow mapping, you focus on defining the shapes and edges of the light and dark pattern. But first, let's start with a very important linear lay-in. I'll start with the angle of the connection to the head, and find the biggest shape of the ear. Focus on getting the width to height relationship and the correct angles of the plane changes. Now I'll focus on the complex shapes inside the ear. Make sure to constantly compare shapes to the shapes around it. Keep checking angles and the size relationships of the shapes. Breaking up the curves into segments of straights makes it easier to design and draw accurately. Also, it's okay to exaggerate shapes if you think it will make for a better design. Okay, so here's the shadow mapping stage. The linear lay-in I have so far doesn't change, no matter where the light source is. It simply indicates the forms. During the shadow mapping stage, I'll focus on the specific shapes caused by the light. So I always start by evaluating what angle the light source is coming from. In this case, looks like it's at the top left. As I map the shadow pattern, I will be indicating either a core shadow or a cast shadow. The core shadows will usually have a soft or firm edge, whereas the cast shadows will usually have a very sharp edge. So simultaneously, I'm indicating the shape of the shadow as well as the edge of the shadow. Separate the lights from the shadows. Stay simple and don't lose control of your values. Try to ignore all the dark halftones and only fill in the shadows. Remember, reflected lights are part of the shadow family, so fill them in as a shadow. The way to make them look like reflected lights is to darken the areas around them, not by lightening them. If you lighten them, they will become part of the light family, and that will hurt the form. A very good guideline to follow is the darkest light is lighter than the lightest dark. Let me repeat that. The darkest light is lighter than the lightest dark. In other words, never make your reflected light lighter than your halftones. Of course, with the exception of very reflective surfaces like metal and water. In the deep crevices of all these forms, I'll add the dark accents of the occlusion shadows. In the final stage, I'll add some smaller planes in the lights with halftones and defined highlights. Most of the volumes in the ear should be shaded like organic cylinders. Make sure these volumes feel round. Okay, so as with the other featured demos, I'm going to give this drawing away, and this time I'll give it to someone that buys the new DVD that I announced a few days ago. If you'd like to purchase it, go to proko.com/DVD1. Watch my previous video to get a quick overview of the DVD. I'll announce the winner of the giveaway on December 7th. Hey, if you like this video, your friends might too. Please help me out and share this video on your favorite social network. And don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter on proko.com.